All right, welcome to the Daily Day with Dustin Diggs. I'm excited today. We have Cardinal Cowboy here. They told me if I build it, they would come. So I got a local celebrity here. Kind of motivational speaker, too. We're doing some research about you earlier before you got here. Just kind of doing some research on you. Just kind of tell the audience how you became Cardinal Cowboy.
Well, I guess it goes back to, how far back you want. The Cardinal Cowboy thing kind of emerged after years of kind of wondering after what I was going to do after I got recovered from a coma. A lot of people aren't familiar with that part. They just think I'm a super fan, fun guy at the Cardinal games. But the truth is I came out of a coma back when I was 19. So we'll go back to that point. But I'd won the same award as David Freese and Ryan Howard. Ryan Howard was a National League MVP. David Freese was the
Game 6 MVP.
Game 6 World Series MVP. I think it was also the NLDS or CS champion or MVP also. He won 2 in a row. And so anyway, both of those guys from St. Louis went to Lafayette. I was a Lancer also, but I went to Lutheran South. Different Lancer, so we were the Lancers also. Played them in soccer one time. We was the Lancers against the Lancers. But anyway, so I go off to college to play ball at Central Methodist. Central Methodist just won the national. I finished runner-up in the national championship for baseball.
So you grew up playing baseball.
Yeah, baseball was my sport. I'd dive around in the backyard and I'll never forget a gal came up to me at school. She says, "Are you the guy they call Ozzie Smith?" Because I'd been a bunch of diving plays. I'd practice all the time. That's why my mantra is always, if you want to accomplish anything, go out there and just do it.
What position were you?
That was shortstop.
You were a shortstop?
Oh, yeah, shortstop, second base, left field. I made it as a center fielder for Metro and when I won a Slava MVP. So, yeah, I won a Slava MVP award. So did David Freese. Brian Rupp won that. He ended up getting stuck behind Scott Rowland for the St. Louis Cardinals in AAA.
Wow.
And Scott Rowland was our third baseman, if you recall. But Morgan Burkhart's in that picture, too. And Morgan Burkhart's standing next to me. It's all on cardinalcowboy.com/about. I think you guys had that. There you go.
Yeah, we have it up here.
And if you scroll down, you'll see that picture. And there is Morgan Burkhart. Burkhart made it to the big leagues with the little team out of Boston called the Boston Red Sox.
Is it down here still?
Yeah, I think there it is. It's the one on the left there.
Oh, okay, right here.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
And so, so that's Morgan. He ended up
thank you.
Boston Red Sox and myself, and I'm pulling a ventilator out of my own throat after a soccer game. We traveled back home to play, or come back to St. Louis. We played Missouri Baptist down at Central, which is real close to Mizzou, Fayette, Missouri. And on the Highway 109, we cut through to get down to Eureka. I was going to meet my girlfriend at the time. Was coming down from Bradley, and anyway, our driver spinning out of control hits us head on. And I said if we'd have hit head on, everybody would have died. But we hit the side of his truck, and he flipped over us. Our driver ended up passing away, Jimmy Barnes. Back in the day, he had pressure build up in your head, swells, and so now they cut a hole to relieve the pressure, but they didn't do that back then. It was 1991, September 21st, and so I go into a coma. I'm on the side of the road, and they're talking to me. Apparently, I'm all right, and then I start to have seizures. My jaw was broken, blood coming down, big scar. You see the scar on my head there? It's kind of a bash, but you see that? But
no, I can't see it.
Good.
Yeah. I can't see it from here.
So they're talking to me, and I go and start having seizures. They pulled the drunk driver out that hit us, but he was already in the ambulance, and then put me in place in the ambulance and took me to the hospital. And they said if I hadn't made that first trip, I would not be here today.
Wow.
So I go in the ambulance back to the hospital emergency room, St. John's Mercy over here, and proceed to go into a coma. They shoot you with a drug called Dilantin at the time. They said it's a harsh score. I talked to some guys. Ooh, they put you on Dilantin. Ooh, that's tough, but it'll stop seizures. You can end up in a coma. So I proceeded to go into a coma. Then on the 7th day, that's my joke is always the 7th day I rose.
Yeah,
pulled my arms out of the restraints, which you're not supposed to be able to do,
wow.
but you can imagine. Yeah, look here, but and pulled the ventilator out of my own throat. And they said, "Okay, he's going to make it."
Do you remember waking up?
Not at all. Not at all. Even the first memory I had was walking through the hospital in my 90 with my sister. Was just kind of walk around after I came out of the coma.
Oh wow!
Do you remember anything when you're in the coma? Did you have like a weird?
They discuss, you see the bright lights and all that stuff, and I've watched since then. They've got videos. Well, you see bright lights because what do you have over an operating table? Bright lights, right? So I don't know if I actually saw that. If I dreamt, I was looking down on myself, but there was a recollection I had of something like that. But we also kind of get predispositions for that to think that that's what's going to happen to you because you've heard that before, and so then do you imagine that happened or did it really happen? Only God knows, I guess. But yeah, so after 7 days, pulled the ventilator. They said, well, now you get to take care of Carter for the rest of his life. And that's, some people still question whether or not there's somebody who needs to take care of me or not.
Yeah, I was reading about that your dad didn't want you to hear that.
Yeah, so that was part. So we started going to psychiatrist. Yeah, good point. Go to a psychiatrist, psychologist, all these doctors, and they're analyzing me and figuring out what's wrong with me. And he starts saying, just lower your expectations. Carter's not going to be able to do what he was previously capable of. And my dad's like, we're out of here, and that doctor should be locked up.
Yeah.
And we never went back to that guy again. So just proceeded to go through the recovery. One more week at home, so I took a 2-week vacation in the middle of the semester. But then I said, take me back to school. I wasn't allowed to drive at that point, but they took me down to Central, and I finished the semester, got grades, and then I transferred back to SLU.
Now, did it take? I mean, obviously after the coma, you weren't 100%. So, were you having like trouble thinking? Was there certain like physical things that you were overcoming?
Yeah, it was cognitive skills. My what they call your executive skills. So the front part of your brain controls everything else. So I would just sometimes blurt things out that would just pop into my head. With my filter essentially was broken at the time. So there's some people heard me say
Asperger's or something.
Yeah, there's crazy. Yeah, what's wrong with Carter? Well, if you hadn't heard, he was in a coma, and he's lucky to be here. So we're just glad he's alive. But yeah, that was part of what I had to deal with as a matter of the recovery. So I'm lucky to be here. There we go. I got my.
So
and I'll shoot a shot here of everybody. All my fans to see too. You got a great looking studio here.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
So did you have a lot of like? I guess it was. Did you have like trauma, like things that like after that happened? Were you afraid to drive or?
Yeah, they wouldn't let me drive for a long time. I had to stay on Dilantin for another 6 months. They ease you off of that because you can start having seizures again. So I'm always subject to seizures. It wasn't until I got done with my professional football. I played football after that. God knows, but as a kicker, it still counts. I had a few tackles in my day, but they said if you ever have another blunt trauma like I had from the accident, then you could have another seizure again. And so, but I was fortunate I never did. But yeah, it was a matter of, you want to manage it? You got it?
I can hold it.
All right, we have the beautiful and talented Tracy here.
Tracy and Shemane's here as my co-host. What a horrible host I am. I forgot to.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's her birthday today. She's 21 years old.
That's right.
Oh, sorry, wrong way. 42 going on.
Divided by 2, right? Yeah. So,
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot you go through, and there's a lot of psychological effect from that. And so my confidence was down. For playing baseball again was difficult because I was used to being so competitive, and they started to program me. He's not going to be able to do. He wouldn't be capable, and we just kind of proved them all wrong. And that's the message I have now for kids, and we visit kids at schools and hospitals and people at old folks' homes and all kinds of stuff. Just to encourage them that there's really nothing you can't do as long as you're living and breathing. Your brain is functioning. There was some damage, but it's amazing what the brain can recover from if you just let it.
Of human will, yeah.
Yep.
Now, how did you come up with the Cardinal Cowboy and kind of like the hat and the jersey? Like, where did this all start?
Yeah. So Yeah, my dad originally bought one of those Augie Bush replica cowboy hats. And they used to sell them now they're out of business, called Casey Sports back in the day.
I remember that in the day, yeah.
Back in the day, we had Casey Sports. We would buy a lot of our equipment there for the sports that we played. And he bought one of these hats. So it was about 1998, and he had that hat in his closet. And I went home one time and seen him for a break or whatever, and I took the hat out of his closet, and I took it with me. So I started wearing it to the games. At that time, I was working for Anheuser-Busch. Ended up Another accomplishment I was fortunate to achieve was I ended up building the email systems for Anheuser-Busch, all after a coma, right? You're in a coma, but now you're in charge of constructing the corporate clustered email Microsoft Exchange servers. But at the same time I was there, they gave a lot of tickets to the Cardinal games. So I started wearing the jersey and the hat. And then about 2004, I did that for about 6 years off and on. 2004, I said, you know what? I'm playing men's semi-pro baseball again. I'm going to wear the baseball pants to the game. And at that time, I was in the IT field, was doing a lot of computer stuff, and I said, I'll put up a website. But my friends were calling me Cardinal Cowboy previously, and I said, now I'm wearing the pants, so let's put up a website, cardinalcowboy.com. And that's really where it took off. And I built a replica trophy. The first one, this one's kind of beat up, but from a distance, this one looks...
It looks good on the camera.
Pretty close to the real deal. Yeah.
I guess this lights up.
Yeah, there's a little light for it here.
Puck light,
that's the most recent edition. I'll put that on real quick. And it's got a little remote control. And so, then I just started doing my thing, and the fans kind of adapted towards. We're drawn towards it. Now I do the stuff at the Cardinal games and voted Major League Baseball's favorite fan, and listed as one of 21 super fans by CNN's Bleacher Report. And it's just a lot of fun stuff. But it all goes back to. And I remember thinking this. Boy, I'm getting a lot of attention with this, but my mom is going to kill me if I'm not doing something positive to help people.
Right. So this was 2004. So this is really before the social media boom with Facebook and things like that. So people were recognizing you prior to this. It's almost like the way I look at you. You're almost like the towel guy for the Blues, right?
Right. Yeah.
Have you ever met that guy?
Oh yeah, we hang out. He's been in my studio. Ron.
Yeah.
He's
I
know
his
really
name. Yeah.
Ron's he's a really nice guy. He's been real helpful.
My cat not happy.
All right. That's the cat, folks. We take care of the cat. We take care of the cat. So in 2004, you started doing it, and then when social media, and then you just people start following you, and then do you get invited to the games now, or how's that work?
So yeah, I mean the way this has kind of progressed over just doing this for a while, and people recognize me and say, hey, would you come to my kids' fundraiser for their baseball team? Would you come to visit Bobby at the hospital? So I got invited most recently. The way it kind of turned in now is I was asked to make an appearance as a Cardinal Cowboy at a charity event, and this one was at Busch Stadium. So I was like, of course, in the Champions Club, I'll show up. And I just remember it was 6 o'clock on Friday, whatever the date was. Didn't remember the name of the charity, but I knew where I had to be and the location. I showed up there. I'm like, oh, memory care, and it's a really great for people who've had memory issues, which relates to what I went through. But anyway, they proceeded to go through the evening. They did some awards, and a young lady was talking about her son who they'd helped, who'd been in a coma. And I said, wow, I've been through a coma. They said, but he's still going through recovery, and they're still working with him. I said, I'd like to help. I've been through that. I know what it's like to go through a coma and recover when there was 1 out of 50, 1 out of 100 odds. We've had doctors that I've talked to that mentioned the odds. And they said, yeah, you know who that was? And I said, she was the volunteer of the year. And proceed to find out she's not, I don't say in public who she is, but she's as high as you can go in the Cardinals organization. There's DeWitt, and then there's other people that kind of are in on the same level.
Other operations people. Yeah.
That of on that high level that you as high as you can be, and they'd already scoped me out, and she told her who I was, and she said, well, if you can help, that'd be great. So we proceeded to go to the game, and she said, well, let's meet, and we'll meet before the game, and why don't we go to the Champions or the Cardinals Club behind home plate? I'm like, oh, sure, that'd be fun.
Wow.
And then we went and sat in the green seats, and I started talking to him. I said, well, I'm here to help, man. What do you want to do? I knew I had to find out what inspired this kid, and he wanted to be a rapper. And I said, well, one of my good friends is a photographer for Murphy Lee and does some work for Nelly and J.E. and all those guys and Coco. And I said, I'll tell you what, I'll get your stuff listened to. Let me hear a little bit of it. And the guy spit out a rap just like that. And he had head trauma, and you could tell that there had been some residual effects, but he did this rap, and I was like, wow, he really does have some skills. So I said, if you keep on this path, I'll get your stuff, but you got to improve. A year later, it's actually her dad. It was one of the guys who came in with the DeWitts. And he said, hey, Cowboy, I got to talk to you. I'm like, yes, sir. And we're at the same Champions Club for the same event. And he goes, you're the only person that's been able to get through to my grandson. I was like, oh, we had psychiatrists and psychologists and doctors and all these people. And I said, well, I'll take some, that's cool, because he can't tell me, I don't know what it's like to go through a coma. So, but we still work with their son and grandson, and it's been just kind of, those are the kinds of things that this makes us all worthwhile. So,
how old did you say he was?
He's 26 or so now.
26.
Yeah.
Wow. So some of these kids that you talk to that go through recovery, do you still stay in contact with them?
Sure. Yeah. A number of them. So one of them, sadly, he did survive. They had written him off, said, this is it. Say your final piece here and get prepared for the end. And I got in his little, they got these big emergency room, whatever. It's a little room, the zipper thing that goes all the way around. It's a big, curtain or whatever. Didn't really have a room, but I said, you had a fight. This is his name, Seth. I can say his first name. And Seth decided to fight. And when he did, he ended up making a recovery and lived another 5 years.
Wow.
And it was years later, I still keep in touch with his mother. And she said, do you know why my son lived as long as he did when they said he wasn't going to make it any longer at age 12 and he made it to age 17? She said, it's because you got in his face and you inspired him and you stayed with him and you coached him. I'm like, oh, wow. And then it all came back again like cancer so often does. And I ended up visiting him that night. I drove down to see him. And it was one of those things, what kind of decision was I making there to try to encourage? But I said, Seth, it's okay. You don't have to fight anymore if you don't want to. because it was bad. He has a ventilator, and then I left and came back to St. Louis, about an hour and a half drive in Southern Illinois, and they called me and said Seth passed away. So what if I'd have said, fight, you got to fight? Maybe it would have been different, but anything you can do to help give some. She said, Carter, I got 5 more years with my son that the doctors told me I wasn't going to have. So, if that's the kind of stuff that God's allowing me to do to help people, hopefully I stick around and help some more.
Yeah, you're doing such a great thing. I'd been researching it the last hour before you got here. I always research the guests before they get here, and I just see all these videos with you and all these kids and stuff, and then all these, I guess it's just kids that you might meet at the Cardinals games or just people going to these charity events like you do. I just think it's amazing what you do. So that's awesome.
I appreciate it. Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah,
I saw you had a long list of charities.
Yeah, we got up to like 75 charities, and then I said, okay, we're not going to update that anymore. That's good enough. And yeah, we just, I just feel like the other side of this, most people don't understand. A few of us do see this and recognize, but they think that money is the way to be happiness. Power is the way to happiness. None of that matters. And I was like, man, this is great. I'm going to really help these kids. And when I come out of this event, I started to realize, man, I feel really good about what I'm doing now. So that's where it really comes back. So it's not like I'm just doing this and please feel sorry for me and all my time and dedication I've done. That doesn't happen anyway. But man, I feel great after I come out of a meeting with some kids or at a hospital or a charity event. And that's what really makes the world go round. So the money and power, none of that stuff really means much. It comes and goes. But if you've really, and I think that's the system that God has created, right? And the system is if you help people, you benefit. We're in a political world now where we've got all kinds of craziness going on. And ultimately, whoever's trying to gain whatever, if you're going to help people, things are going to go well for you. If you're not, that isn't going to work. That's just the way it was made by God, I believe.
Right. And when did you start working with Judge Carter that you guys started doing this show? Let's see if we can pull it up here.
The Cowboy Judge.
Which I love watching. Sometimes it comes in early on Sundays, so it's hard for me to catch them sometimes.
Yeah, it's 11:30 on Sundays, it's 9:30 on Sundays sometimes. Yeah, don't wake me up before noon on Sunday. But
I think I watched one where he had his brother on.
Yeah, we've had 2 of his brothers on. Yeah, Chad.
Chad. We did
Chad. Yeah,
we filmed a couple of music videos for Chad.
Did you? Okay.
He's the people know who Chad is. The $40.com voice.
Yes.
$40.com.
And he's made that famous by now
yes,
too.
He is.
I actually got a T-shirt sent to me.
Did you?
I used him for a case that I had to deal with, but he sent me a T-shirt. I'm like,
it was a big case. It was a parking ticket. I think.
Parking.
yeah.
But no, he mailed me a T-shirt that said that.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's catchy.
Yeah.
It is catchy.
But yeah, so
it is. Mm-hmm.
To answer your question, I'd been doing my thing around town, and Channel 30 is kind of your local station of all the national networks in St. Louis, and you've got your local and your national. But Channel 30 would focus on smaller community-based stuff. And the gal that I knew was working there, she came up to me, she says, hey, would you like to have a show on ABC 30? I'm like, about time. Carter, I've been running around for a while. She says, well, we're just going to give you some airtime, get you hooked up with some airtime, but you got to produce your show. And I said, well, I'm doing internet marketing for small businesses. Let's do some interviews with some clients, and I'll put together a clip and 3 different cameras and angles. And then we didn't know what we were doing, so we were doing 3 different cameras. Didn't know you could switch them live like you're doing right now.
Oh yeah.
And so that would save us a lot of hassle. When we started to do that and put it out there, and I ran into the judge. I did the internet marketing for CarShield for a while before they were CarShield. It was
a different group.
Same guys but different name. Anyway. But the judge, their lawyer, was the judge. And so he got to know me and familiar with me, and they would have me come to their events and stuff. And so he reached out, he says, why'd you stop doing the show? I said, well, it just was so much work, and we weren't as efficient, whatever. We didn't know what we didn't know. But he goes, man, I was really enjoying that content. How about we do a show together, and I'll put you in the studio. And he showed me the studio. This is one that Channel 2 uses and ABC uses and ESPN uses when people come.
In Brentwood, right?
Yeah, it's in Brentwood, yeah. And used to be First Rule. Now they're called Outreach. And I said, wow, we can be in there. So now he's like, I got it, cover the bills here, and we'll get everything. And so it's a PR thing for all of us, and for him, and for us, and for the community. And now, that's just, we just transitioned. Now we call it the Cowboy and Judge Show instead of the Cardinal Cowboy Show. And it just really has taken off, and we've got all kinds of well-known St. Louis people that have been on the show.
Yeah, talk about some of the big guests. Man, you've had Cardinal players on there, Blues players. You have a lot of local politicians. Is it hard getting those types of guests on the show?
Well, I've been fortunate because a lot of them are familiar with what I've done in the community, so I just kind of reach out to them and they'll say, "Oh yeah, tell me more about it." So Anthony Bonner, Kerry Robinson, Smash, Brooke Dubman, help me out. Tracy knows a lot of the people.
Brooke Dummon from Care House Furniture. Who else has been on there? A couple of good realtors. He knows.
Yeah, there's a lot of prosecuting attorney from Lomar, prosecuting attorney for St. Charles, and Wesley Bell from St. Louis, and you just go down the list, and everybody would like the opportunity. And my whole goal with the show originally was put the spotlight on people that can share with how everybody thinks they just woke up one day and they were the vice president or the prosecuting attorney or whatever. No, there was a path that they had to go through.
Right.
Some way they built it up and earned that position, and share that with people, and so that we can help other people realize you don't have to go through a coma and do the recovery thing that I went through. You may have a more traditional path or whatever, but there's still a path that you had to go through and the hoops you had to accomplish to go through all that. And so that's the whole idea of the show. And now it's just gone, and we're going into our third year, and we're getting some pretty good attention from it and some sponsors, and it's turned out to be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's a great show. Do you guys film? It comes on like weekly, I guess, with the quarters, but I guess you do a block when you do like a whole day that you have these guests come through and do like 5 shows at one day.
Yeah, that's good. It's a matter of being efficient. Right. And we tried to do this a little bit. We had a studio we built out of my house. Now we have another studio we have in my house. It's got a TV wall and all that. But for their studio, it's pretty pricey to be in there. And so we will book from 10 o'clock till 3 o'clock. And so we got a time. It's at 45 minutes to shoot a 30-minute show, and that's time to change and put new props up and do whatever. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's 45 minutes, and we'll do 7 or 8 interviews in one sitting, and then we just change jackets or change jerseys or change shirts, and in between and shoot them all at once.
So, who is your favorite interview so far?
Oh wow, there's been some cool ones. I'd say I enjoyed having the doctors on. There's a brain injury institute. This is my friend with the Cardinals. Mm-hmm. Through her son, they had an institution called the Brain Injury Association of Missouri, and then another doctor. You never know who you're talking to. This guy's at the bar area for a restaurant, and we're all sitting there waiting for a meeting we're going to have. I was meeting with 590 at the time, and so we're sitting there hanging out talking. He goes, "Hey man, where'd you get that hat? That's pretty cool. Where'd you get that from?" I told him the story. He's like. He says, "You may not look like it," because he was in a T-shirt and had a little breeze, but I'm a retired emergency room surgeon. And I was like, "Oh." He goes, "Let me tell you, you're 1 out of 50. And he goes, "Maybe 1 out of 100 to actually recover." He didn't know me well enough, but he could tell at that point I was at least coherent enough or well-spoken enough to say, "You've recovered," versus what more often happens. And so we had him and then the Brain Injury Association director on the show, and we really got to talk about what it is that people go through when they recover and come through something like that. And then another one along those lines, John O'Leary. He was burned on 99 point and almost 100% of his body, and now he talks to different groups around the country. He's been on Goldcast and all these national things, and just a real inspirational story. I mean, he was given like 1% odds. I had less than 50-50 to survive. He had like 1% odds of survival, and made it. So. Gosh, Wesley Bell was great because we talked about, hey man, I personally believe that there's so much room in the internet marketing computer world that a lot of these kids, the reason they get in trouble is because they come out of jail and they still have no means to provide for themselves. Mm-hmm. So they go right back to the one way they know to provide is drugs or whatever. And so I said, I could teach these kids in a few weeks the skills they need that most small business owners just don't have the time to do internet marketing related stuff and could be making $20-30 an hour. So he and I've talked a little bit about that. We're going to go in and hopefully set up a program for kids around the St. Louis area for that.
Do you ever? Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying it kind of reminds me of Launch Code kind of does that with computers, like IT.
Yeah, I've heard of them. I don't know specifics. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you ever have like a guest on? Because like with your show, it's kind of like you have to fit it all in 45 minutes, but you might be talking to that doctor, the brain doctor, and you're like, shoot, 7 minutes already went by, but you got so much information. So do you kind of wish that you had a longer format show sometimes with some of these guests? Because the nice thing with the podcast I do here, if we're having a good conversation, it can go over an hour or whatnot. Right. But with you, it's like you got to keep to the television.
Yeah, for that show, that's pretty much what it has come down to. Sometimes we do 15 minutes, sometimes we do 30 minutes, or most times we do 30 minutes. And it's pretty. They have a clock on the wall, and they'll lean over about and want to say, all right, 10 minutes, 5 minutes. 2 minutes. Oh, wow. And then we just, wherever we get, I go, Judge, man, it's been great. We could talk about this for hours, right? But we have to go. And so then we do our little wrap up. And then I'm one of the editors, primary editor for the show, producer, whatever. And so I have to find, okay, we're 30 seconds over or a minute and a half over. I got to chop out little pieces of people. Nobody ever even realizes what was cut. But yeah, you got to do a little bit of that and then slap on all our titles and everything.
Yeah, that's awesome. So going to the Cardinals, let's just do a little Cardinal talk here. How do you think the Cardinals going into this year are like?
Well, going into this year, there was some pretty high expectations. You know, they picked up Arenado and had some guys coming back. That, you know, nice pitching staff when you've got Kim and Waino and, you know, Flaherty, your top three. You're doing pretty well right there. Micklitz, and then you had some other injuries coming in, and then they kind of got hit by, you know, with primary pitchers. We had Flaherty and Micklitz go down, and then Kim down for a little while. They were in first place up until that had happened. And so a lot of people are, they're terrible. They're not going to. I go, guys, remember 2011, you know, they came back out of nowhere, 10.5 down. And they weren't that far out this time. People have to, I don't remember exactly the scenario, but it was 10.5. It was out of the last wild card spot. And here,
they were in last place, weren't they?
Well, they were in third or fourth, but they had to get into that wild card position. And so this year they're closer than that. Right now, they're 4.5 out of the wild card. And about the same thing, but that's not 10.5 out. So they're already halfway to where they need to be if you compare it to that. And baseball is a lot like most of your sports have become now. Who's hot right now, right? And so you want to get hot. I don't know how many times you've seen it. I think it was the Tampa Bay Lightning 2 years ago. They won the Stanley Cup last year, but 2 years ago they were like the number one team by like 30 games better than, you know, over plus minus, and knocked out in the first round because they weren't hot when the playoffs started, you know. So just give the Cardinals a chance. They're still, I mean, as frustrating was I've been at the last two games. I missed the last one was Sunday. We didn't go, but we went prior to that. They lost the Pirates in last place.
Oh my gosh, my dad was watching that game. He was so mad.
Oh, and you should
have heard him.
Yeah, it's like,
he's like, they're the worst team in the league, and they beat them.
Yeah, and the Pirates, so, and all they had to do is win a couple of those, and they'd be right up there. And now the Reds. So let's just give it a little. We got, you know, 5 weeks of baseball left here, so or more, and there's 30-something games. So let's just give them a chance and figure it out. And who knows? I mean, the worst thing would not be if the Cardinals didn't make the playoffs. They make the playoffs like 2 out of 3 times, you know.
Right.
And so we're kind of fortunate here, but there's high expectations.
We're spoiled. Considering other teams.
What year was that? Was it 84 when they went to the World Series?
Well, they went 85, 87, 82 also. 82
they
they
won.
won.
That's when that celebration, like
82 was big celebrate.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Is that 85?
Probably, I think it was 85
and
or 82.
They lost that one, right, to Kansas City.
Yeah, that was 85. Yeah. Don Dinginger.
But there was a bad play in that, right?
Yeah, the umpire Don Dinginger blew a call, but that's another example I use to share with people. It's not the error. My dad gave me this quote yesterday would have been my dad's 79th birthday, so shout out to Dad for his heavenly birthday. But he said, Carter, it's not the error that beats you. It's not the error that kills you. It's how you respond to that error. So people, they got all upset about Don Dinkinger's call, but then they dropped a pop fly on the infield. It was a foul ball. They just dropped it right between Porter and Clark, I guess. And it's just like, how do you drop a pop-up? I mean, but they were so out of it. It's how you respond, and that's how life is, right? You got a problem, you got something that doesn't go your way, you can fall apart and let it all crumble, or you can go, all right, I'm going to make this, I'm bounce back and be stronger.
That also happened with the Cubs, the catching hell of the guy that, you know, because Bartman, like, if you would look at the plays after that play, they fumbled on a couple other plays.
Yeah,
Moises, they blamed that guy.
Yeah, Moises Alou was right underneath that to catch that, and but he was mad as hell. But the same scenario, it was like that's not the end of the game. They still had to score runs after that to win it, and then it fell apart. But that is so often is the psychological part of life, like my accident, my coma, everything I went through. I had every reason to be upset and frustrated and pissed off with the world for the rest of my life, and I decided I'm not going to live the rest of my life this way. It's no fun. And I started that way for about 6 months, and finally I go, okay, enough of this. Go on. I'm going to try to accomplish whatever I can, be a different path. I could have been unfortunate and made it as a professional baseball player who then was retired and broke. I joked that
was that your dream?
Yeah, I mean, I thought I was good, and I had coaches that tell me I should have made it, I would have made it, whatever. But got at a different path, and a lot of those guys, like I say, the odds of becoming Albert Pujols are still, even when you're in the top 500 players in the world that are playing at the big league level, what are the odds you're in the top 1% of those guys, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so it's possible, but there's still a different path for me. But I'm not retired, and I'm not broke, and I don't have to feel bad about my career that didn't happen. I went off and did something else, or the career that happened and was over short, like happens to a lot of those guys. And so now I get to turn it into something positive that would not have been possible had I not gone through all what I've gone through here.
All right.
And then, like, your life is enriched by those other people that you help, like the boy you were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, that's where you really feel good. It's like, I don't care if I make $10 million or I make $10. It makes you feel awesome to have been able to help somebody to recover from something that the doctors, they had written off Seth. He wasn't going to make it. They said, wrap it up. This is it. And I just said, no, it's up to you. You got to fight. And he did. So.
That's awesome. Is it weird when you go to a place and then you get recognized and you don't know that person, but yet this person knows who you are? Is that a strange feeling? Because I always wonder how it is for, like, just celebrities in general, like when they, also somebody walks up to them and they know a bunch about this person, but you have no idea who this person is.
Yeah. But it happens just about everywhere I go now, so I just kind of just take it in. But I've learned that the way you have to respond to that is a matter of, hey, man, let me just make you feel comfortable and be cool with you about, hey, you're just as good and as cool as I am. I happen to have been out in front of a group of people or whatever. We were at the were you there? We were yesterday at the loading dock, and we're just sitting there, and this guy comes walking up. He's like, Cardinal Cowboy, man, how you doing? I'm like, hey, what's up? I was like,
he's feeling good though.
Yeah, and I go, what's your name? He goes, yeah. He says, I'm Carter, Cardinal Cowboy. He goes, I know who you are. I know. And I was just like, okay, and that's cool. But I just, again, if you ever let your head get blown up out of that, then that's when things start to go the opposite, the wrong direction.
Right.
And so that's why I just take it back and try to be humble and say, hey, man, but what about you? Tell me about yourself. And what do you live about your Cardinals or whatever it is?
Yeah.
And that just helps to reciprocate, and it brings that positivity. So I talk about there's two different cycles, right? There's the vicious cycle down when you got something that goes wrong and you think about how bad it is and then what could have gone. And that's a vicious spiral down. But I like to talk about there's also a vicious spiral up. And that is when people have decided to help somebody and they contribute and they talk to somebody else and they can encourage them. And then we're all supporting each other. And I think if we focused on that a little bit more, we'd end up doing a little bit better on this planet than some of the things we.
Do you do most of the motivational speeches that you go and talk in front of an audience, or do you just go meet people one-on-one? Is it more?
Mostly, motivational speeches, I'd say there are talks. There's some of that's one-on-one, but most times it's a group who's seen me speak somewhere else or some organization or some event.
Colleges.
Yeah, colleges and schools and like the National Realtors Association over in Illinois invited me over to, I forget the location, but yeah, they paid me to come over and give a speech. I had another group that has people who had life-threatening or what do they call it, but long-term illnesses. And I drove up to Northeast Missouri. They paid me to come up and do that. But yeah, it's usually a group of 30 to 200 or so of people, or just a group of people that I'll just say, let me tell you what happened, and let me tell you why I recovered and how you can recover and do whatever you set your mind to do. Also,
what about that Edmund Foundation, or what was the one you got the award from, or you went and talked to
the Brain Injury Association?
Maybe that was it, or your buddy who just lost his mom. Edmund Foundation, when you went to, they gave you that award at Harry's.
Oh, okay, yeah. There's a couple. There's another group called.
Sorry, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. No, I know exactly. My buddy Kerry, and we'll have to come back to it. It's Aaron Emig, the Emig Award. The Bob Emig Foundation.
Bob Emig
and
Foundation.
they give an award every year to somebody who's helped people in youth sports. So prior year that I received it, they gave it to some gal named Jackie Joyner Kersey. I don't think if you've heard of her. And I was like,
Yes.
She was
St.
Olympic
legend.
Olympic gold medalist and multiple golds.
Hurdles. I think she was really good at the hurdles.
Yeah, she's just an incredible.
Yeah.
And so when they said I had won the award after she did, I was like, whoa, you guys are like that's cool. That's a serious deal. So, but they help likewise to encourage people and to inspire. And so anytime I can get the opportunity, but yeah, I'll definitely do some one-on-ones. There's no doubt, I guess, as I think about it, there's probably as many times as I've just visited a kid in the hospital by himself with, a couple parents that were concerned. But it doesn't matter to me as long as there's somebody there that we can help and have some kind of impact to say, hey, you got this. You can beat this.
Were you uncomfortable talking about it at first, when it first happened?
My coma and accident and everything? Not really. I mean, I just was pretty much, this sucked. I wish it hadn't happened, but there's always some other path that's available if you're willing to follow it. And for a lot of people, they get stuck because they're so withdrawn with regard to what had happened to them and how traumatic it was and how this isn't fair. And I went through that as well. But when it came down to it, it's really a matter of, are you going to let this just define you and destroy you? Or are you going to turn around and try to turn it into something positive and do something worthy?
So do you think your dad was kind of the one that pushed you to like be more open about it and like get through that?
Yeah, I'd say he was the inspiration in my life for sure. Somebody recently asked me, so who's been the most inspirational person that really helped you through everything? And I'd say, I was talking to my mom about it, and like I said, my dad recently passed. She's like, Carter, you did that because you were determined to do that. But I'm like, man, the one person, it's just hard to swallow for a second. Like, well, the guy who helped me through all that isn't here anymore. Yeah. But you got to continue on, and he would want me to. And I think about what the condition my dad was in, and he's really got to be in a much better place right now. And he's looking down saying, keep doing what you were doing, keep helping people.
When did your dad pass away? Did he see you doing all this stuff with the children?
Oh, yeah.
Was he able to see all this?
Sure, yeah. Well, I really started doing this back in about 2005, 2006. He had a stroke in December 15th, 2015.
Okay.
And was recovering from that. But he came out of that. We don't necessarily claim that as somebody I helped. My mom said, Carter, your dad was not going to make it, except that you were there every day in his ear saying, pull through, Dad, you can come through this. And 45% of the people that have the kind of stroke my dad had die. They don't make it. 55% survive, but not for long typically. But he ended up making another 5 years, and yeah, he got to see. My dad did some incredible stuff too. I mean, he talk about inspiration. He set up the college, junior college to 4-year college program to transfer from one school to another. They really established that with Central and some other schools, and now that's nationwide. And then they set up the college fair program. They had it established, but it was or set up, but it wasn't established. And how they said we got a little capitalism here for our educators. They said just set up a program, but the schools that set the program up charge for the booths, have them make some money. Everybody makes a profit. And now they all name a kid who hasn't gone to college or that went to college that didn't go to a college fair before they did that. And so he set that program up too.
Oh wow. Awesome.
And so I'm fortunate to have that's my mentor. I mean, look, how stupid or how lazy would I have to be to have somebody like that as my father and not listen and
your dad
pay attention.
won like that award like through his college, like they named the college after your dad.
Yeah, it's college scholarship. He's got 7 scholarships named after him too. So that's
like an amazing man.
Yeah, I'm fortunate to have somebody like that. Yeah.
Do you have siblings?
I've got a little sister. Yeah, she's a teacher. She's got her master's degree. She impacts probably more people than I do with all the kids she teaches. And my sample's kind of small actually.
Taught music.
But she's a piano teacher.
Piano teacher.
Oh wow.
When you were 19, were you this like outgoing as you are now?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that argue. They're saying Carter's no different. He's just a little more of what it was.
I was wondering because I could not get up and give a speech to 200 people. There's no way. I'm an actress, but like giving a speech is a total different thing.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of, and once you've been through something like I went through, then you're just like, I don't really care what happens because to me, there's nothing that's going to embarrass me because I'm the one who runs around in a baseball uniform, at a stadium and whatever. I'm not too worried about what people think because I've been through something so traumatic. And so it doesn't hardly ever faze me. I've been in front of larger audiences of 20, 30,000 people speaking at times. The All-Star game, we did something together and I got pulled up on, they asked me to come be on stage for that in San Diego a few years ago. And it's just you get out there, you don't even think about it because I tell people
like we did a race, we did a 5K before the game in the morning because I'm a big runner. Yeah, and I dragged Carter with me, and you got to go through all. It was a tie-dye thing, one of those color runs, and we went through, and they threw all this powder on you and all that.
Oh, that sounds.
And
cool.
So then Carter sometimes, and it's silly because he's running in his baseball uniform with flip flops. Imagine he forgot running tennis shoes. He's running with socks in these flip flops that I gave him. Following behind me, and then we get out, and then he gets on the stage. There had to be easily how many? There had to be like a couple thousand people there.
Well, yeah, there was 10,000 people in the race.
10,000 people there, and we're up on stage, and Carter's is up there getting the fans all, or the people, the crowd all amped up.
Yeah, and like those are opportunities. I think you got to do something positive with them. And if you don't do that, then that's when things don't go your way. You see a lot of people, a little flash of fame, but if they're doing something too self-centered, then it doesn't last. And that's just right. I've been fortunate to realize that when I got started, and I think that's why it's sustained.
Wow. So you got to travel with the Cardinals. So I mean, I know they've been on your show, but have you hung out with the players before and kind of?
Well, at different points, yeah. I mean, it used to be they would go out more often after the games. You'd see Jim Edmond down at patios.
He had his own bar back in the day.
Edmonds, 15, if you remember 15.
Club 15.
Jim
Jim
was
Edmonds
Ozzy's,
did.
yep.
Yeah, Ozzy's. And then Mike Shannon had Mike Shannon's restaurant.
Yep. And so, but
Ready to retire this year. Pool halls.
right, Pool Halls 5. Yeah, you don't see them out as often these days. I know more of the retired guys because they're all kind of from my era and just a bunch of great guys. Scott Cooper went with me one time to speak to a bunch of kids over at the Bridge Hospital.
Oh, I went to high school with him.
Did you? Oh, wow.
And his brother.
Okay. At what's that? Pattonville, right? Yeah.
Nice.
And what's it called? Oh boy, another brain freezer. But the
You want them to speak somewhere?
the Bridge Hospital. It's called
Children's Glennon, Cardinal Glennon.
no. It's just for kids that have special needs. After they say you're essentially done at the hospital, we
McDonald
can't take
House.
care of you here anymore. You got to go. I'll think of it. But,
Cardinal Glennon?
Rankin Jordan.
Oh, Rankin Jordan.
Rankin-
Oh,
Rankin
yeah.
Jordan.
Rankin Jordan.
Yeah.
And I said, Scott, would you come up there with me? It'd be cool. And he came up and spoke, met with me, and he was there early and showed up and talked to the kids, and we ran a visit and took pictures. Kerry Robinson, you go down the list of the guys. Alan Bennis and I are buddies. I saw Andy the other day going up to the Cardinal game. They had their big event for the what they call Hall of Famers now for the Cardinals, and Andy, I think, was part of that. So, yeah, a lot of they're great, and they enjoy being in our community. And they don't want to get bombarded by fans as much as anybody does, but they really do stick around and help the community out a lot.
Right, that's awesome. So you've been back to the games. Was it hard missing the games during the COVID? I mean, because
Yeah, that was. I mean, that's. I don't want to get into a
we won't get into the
discussion of the
politics or anything.
You know, and I'm the one saying that because boy, it'd be easy for me to kind of chime in on some of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's difficult when you have. I think that helped us as a community to realize, as a country, as a planet, how to realize that we really do depend on our interaction with other humans. And when you don't have that kind of stuff, people start getting depressed and upset and frustrated, and we're designed as social creatures. We need to be around. So that was tough, but they found a way to at least have a season, because there's so much we depend on to have just something to help keep us occupied, right? Or else we go stir crazy. And so they got a 60-game season in, and then this year they figured out, after going a little bit, and now they're up to full capacity. And
No more cardboard.
yeah, no more
We actually ordered those. We actually ordered some of the cutouts.
Did you get a cardboard cutout
Yeah,
yourself?
we got.
Did you have
We had.
one?
Yeah,
Did you?
He and I both did.
we
yeah.
found it online, and I got pictures. Great. She's a lot better looking than me, but we took a picture of her and put up there, and then a picture of me. And they had to cut my. You can see the picture. They cut off the cowboy hat a little bit, but yeah, I had the trophy. I took one. I made sure where they couldn't cut out unless they were going to cut out my face. So they had the trophy on there.
Now, did you see
That's
yourself
really cool.
watching the game from home? Did you see?
I never
Oh shit!
saw-
There I am, right there.
I know Carter. I thought I saw Carter one time behind home plate, because
Yeah.
they put mainly they rotated everybody around. I guess I thought you stayed at the same seat, but they rotated them around throughout the game.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Yeah.
But so right behind home plate, you would see some of the Cardinal players, some of the announcers.
Yeah.
That'd be funny if
or
they taken your cardboard, just
Fred
like had you
Bird.
running around.
Run around the stadium with it. Yeah, it was funny. I have a bunch of my buddies are cops, former cops, and one of the guys is head of a division that has something to do with fun, exciting, or out of control things, whatever. But he said, "Cowboy, come over here. I'm getting you in here. We're going to bring you into the stadium." And I looked up and said, "Bro, I don't want to get anybody in any trouble." So he went around and asked, and he didn't call me back. I said, "Don't bother calling me back unless you got something. You're sure you can do it." But that's the kind of stuff we all just enjoy about baseball, is being that interactive with people. I didn't go in, so it was
Well,
fun.
the nice thing with the cutouts is the proceeds went to Cardinal Glennon. I think.
Yeah,
They went
yeah.
To go support the Cardinals
Yeah,
Foundation.
I've done some work with
Now,
Cardinals.
did they give it to you? Did they mail it to you?
They mailed them to you.
Yeah, then afterwards they
they?
give it to you.
And the season, yeah.
Okay. So you have it at your house. You get to see your.
Yeah, I use it. I've got it up in my studio.
Brought.
Oh,
Yeah, we
yeah,
should-
we need a picture of that.
We've got I've got essentially a TV wall. I found out these TV walls are relatively inexpensive, but it's, you get a nice 55-inch television if you get the cheaper one for $220.
Yeah, the Walmart special. Yeah.
A Scepter. I got a Scepter.
Yeah.
And but then the little boxes used to be like $800. Now they're down to $150. These you got to plug all 4 TVs into it. And so anyway, we got one TV like that set up right next to the pool table, which is a family room. So you put your pool table in the family room, right? And TV, and then they're sitting up there in the corner right next to it. So it's like we're always watching in case there's a game on. It's something keep those guys active and ready to go.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you have a studio at your house. So you do stuff from your house, right? You do interviews and things, right?
Yeah. Well, I've kind of transitioned career-wise. It was interesting. For years since, I don't know, you can include what I was doing for Anheuser-Busch. We used to work with the What's Up guys. What's up? What's up?
Yeah.
Bud Light, what's up? But back with campaigns, and we'd send out 50 million emails in 3 hours, and those would go through with the servers that I set up. But then after InBev came in and everybody got laid off, I've got a master's degree, so they said, you're really fired, you got to go. But that was in 2000. I don't remember exactly where it was, 2008, December 15th on the second floor in Sunset Hills. I'm not sure if that was exactly where I was at, but that's what they said, you can go, and got a nice severance package. And then internet marketing all the time, and working with great guys like Vincent Mortgage and a lot of mortgage companies. And one of them finally came back to me and says, hey, why don't you get your mortgage license and do my digital marketing for me, but also be a license, and you can also get paid on what you do. And so by now I've got a bunch of my buddies that are hitting me up, and I'm like, yep, dude, let's hook you up. What's your rate? Blah, blah, blah. And so I put up my NMLS number somewhere if it's 230032, I think. But
so you do digital marketing for a living, like for companies? Is that what you're?
Yeah. So now we do mortgages now. I'm with American Nationwide.
Oh, okay.
And so that's kind of, and the point of that was that now I'm not doing as much in the studio as I used to, because we've offered it to our people that we work with and stuff we do in the community to help spread the word about, houses and the housing industry and all that kind of stuff. But I kind of backed off because there's all kinds of regulatory stuff you got to go through anytime you say anything, like, so I say the NLMLS 21000032, if I recall my NMLS number, for all those who want to check me out, I'm licensed. There's the number. But yeah, everything's got to be checked with your compliance department and everything. So I haven't done as much out of the studio as I had in the past. I'd also had essentially a rebuild of my Cardinal Cowboy fan page, and that was another discussion with Facebook about who said what things were published and whatever. And so we've rebranded as Our Cowboy. It got up to 1,000 followers. I was up to 10,000 followers at one point.
Wow!
And then had to essentially start over for whatever purposes we could have a whole show about that.
You seem like you do a really great marketing for yourself. Now, you said you worked at Anheuser-Busch, you did with the emails and things like that. What would you say, kind of question, Anheuser-Busch marketing back in the day was the best campaign they did? I'm going to say the frogs, the What's Up was good.
What's up, yeah.
What do you guys think, a group discussion?
Bud, Wise.
The lizards, yeah.
The lizards, yeah.
Yeah.
Lizards.
Bud, Louie,
I think
and
that was best.
and they had the dogs.
I was the
Or
dog
What's Up?
ones, or
Spud
during
McKenzie.
Super
Spuds
Bowl.
McKenzie, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people made the joke that Anheuser-Busch is a marketing company that happens to sell beer, right? They're really a marketing company, but they promoted themselves and built it up to what they were. And so, yeah, I mean, a lot of good, talk about hands-on with marketing strategies that work, but man, they were everywhere. And they had Budweiser, Bud.tv, I think it was Bud.tv that they were launching, was going to be their online version essentially. And it did end up flopping at the time, but it was kind of ahead of the time, but what is essentially YouTube turned into. So, yeah, I mean, it's just very fortunate to kind of right place, right time to be.
Right now, there's companies in Chicago and stuff that do the marketing, right? For all. They
outsource a lot of Darcy, I think was one of these.
Is that what it is? Yeah. So there's not people in St. Louis who are making those marketing decisions, right? It's
they had a marketing team. I think that's all been moved to New York now, but they had a team based out of St. Louis that they'd say, we want to do something along these lines, or give us your ideas, and then they would decide which one they liked. But I remember there's this discussion that Augie Bush III, who was running the company back before the fourth took over, and he said, I like the frogs.
Yeah.
Budweiser.
I do like the Clydesdale one.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah, that one's good
With
too.
the guy and the puppy. That one was real cute.
Oh, yeah. They're masters at doing the marketing strategy.
Yeah. What's some of your marketing kind of things that you do you think is good? Just going out, you think this person-to-person interactions would get you?
Yeah, I think number one, you have to do something that stands out. You can't be somebody, you can't stand out in a crowd of people if you're just doing the same thing as everybody else.
Well, this is what stands out.
Yeah, so I've got I've just been ballsy enough, fortunate enough, crazy enough, insightful, whatever you want to call it, to say, you know what, I'm going to wear an outfit that really, a lot of people don't understand the back end psychology of it. Is a matter of it. To me, it's a big, I don't give a crap. I'm not worried what people say. I'm not. And that stands out. That's in some way psychologically helps you to stand out too, because there's somebody that goes, wow, that dude does not care what anybody thinks about him. And then that helps that to resonate. Not just the fact that there's something of white, bright colors or whatever, but something that it stands for or it means something to them, the same psychological.
Well, he used to hand out the cards, and like unfortunately, like the Cardinals, wouldn't let you do it anymore.
Yeah, well, there was cards we were doing for promoting the charities. And one of the guy who runs the stuff, specific to, I won't name any names. He said, "You can't hand these out anymore." I said, "Well, it's all for charities that work with you guys already." And he said, "Just telling you what they said."
Well, and then people, until you really read the card, they didn't really know what he did. And then I didn't even know that when I first met Carter. I'm from Chicago, so I'm not even from St. Louis. But when I first moved here, when I met him, that's how I one day I just happened, he would hand out these cards like, "Oh, cool, I got a signed card by Cardinal Cowboy. I'm special." And then I really didn't even look until I read the back of it.
Right.
Yeah, and that's where I think you got to have that message a little bit. I'm going to shut my beeper. It's going off.
Oh.
But yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I've been fortunate just to do it.
And then since he's so well known in the community, like all he'll wear is his hat, and if people really know who he is and who he is as Cardinal Cowboy, they're like, "Oh, Cardinal Cowboy!" Or they'll be like, "Oh, cool hat. Can I get one of those? Where can I order one of those?"
Yeah, and it's just, again, I think number one, stand out. Number two, consistency. And Tracy has to deal with this, but it's like I don't go anywhere without at least a hat in the car. And there's the times I periodically people like, "You must be bald or something. That's why you're always wearing a hat." Because
I'll just have the hat, the trophy, just carry both, but he won't have anything that says Cardinal Cowboy on it.
Got most of it still, but I put on a hat, and I've got the black, I got the white hat, I got the beat up hat for the river. I mean, but you have to be consistent with what.
And the rings.
And the rings, yeah.
Yeah, we were on the
rings. Are they from?
Yeah, let's go. Let's talk about the rings. Yeah,
these aren't fake. These are 100% real cubic zirconia, which is fake, I guess. Anybody catch that?
So is that for every
I'll zoom in on.
Is that for every World Series?
Yeah, so this is for all World Series championships, and they go back to the Cardinals have 11 of them. I think 27, 32, 42, 43, 45.
Fingers, I should say.
Yeah, there's
his inside joke. If it wasn't for the Chicago Cubs, we would not have 11 World Series wins.
we give a shout out to all of our opponents when we play.
Yeah, we do.
In particular the Cubs,
but definitely the Cubs.
Because if it weren't for the Cubs, we wouldn't have all these World Series titles. When you see the Cubs fans there, so yeah.
Which one's 2011?
So 11 is
that one was epic to me.
This is 06.
Do you guys have any of the rings?
Yeah, here's
we don't have any rings.
Here's 11 and 6.
They just gave one away on Saturday at the game.
The one with the
yeah, this is 11 over here, and then that's 6.
The Cardinal.
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
I think that's a great St. Louis thing. Is you could always talk to somebody anywhere in St. Louis is from St. Louis. Where were you? Game 6 of 2011.
Yeah,
everybody has a story, right?
Wasn't that amazing?
That was one of the most amazing things.
I don't think you'll see anything like that in baseball.
I was working at my sports bar, and I have never seen.
And
we had 2 big screens. This was out in Chesterfield, Fox and the Hound back in the day, and I was bartending, and I have never seen so many people jump up and down and toss beer. And I mean, I actually had gotten a chance to go to the game, and I wish I would have, because everybody knew how big of a diehard Cardinal fan I was.
Oh my God!
But we were so crowded, my management wouldn't let me go, and I wish I would have just ditched. I
got chills.
I would be like, "Hey, it's only a one-time deal to go to a World Series game. I can gonna find a bartending job anywhere." I almost ditched out, but you know what? I made killer money that night, and just to be in the atmosphere.
Oh, I'm sure everybody was just happy giving you
atmosphere, just beer getting tossed, and jumping up and down. I mean, we probably had to have like 500 people in our bar. I mean, it was crazy.
Oh, we were jumping up and down.
Where were you at that night?
So I was holding a camera. I brought my own little HD camera. I still use this in my studio sometimes. This is one of my backups. It's this little 720p. It's high def, but I brought it with me, and because these things they do good stuff, but they don't really zoom. And I said, I'm just going to bring my little high def camera and bring it with me. And so I was bouncing around. I was out in center field right before Dave hit that home run.
Oh, you were there.
But I was at the game, and then I went up to the second level where my other friends were. They were running around. I'm going down there to sit. So I sat in the second row or first row, right behind the viaduct on the second level. Foul ball comes flying up. Guy next to me ends up catching it. Is a Rangers fan. And it makes me think, the reason we won that World Series is because I didn't beat him up to take that ball. I could have leaned over and grabbed it or scrambled or whatever, but it came up straight to him, give him his shot, and he ended up getting his ball. So I got a video where I'm shooting. So show everybody that magical ball, and he didn't even show it. But he had a. So we proceed, and I said, if you recall, Mr. Freeze hit a triple last at bat. Last time Dave was up to tie it up. So I said, maybe do it again, hit off the wall again, or put it over the wall and call it a night. And then like 4 pitches later, Dave Freese hit a walk-off
Yeah.
home run. And so I had a guy come up to me later. He says, Carter, I saw you. So I put it on YouTube. It's got like 35,000 views. And he goes up to me and goes, hey, man, you called Dave Freese's shot? And I'm like, I did? I go back and watch it. I'm like, yeah, I did actually call it. That's dangerous. You don't want to jinx your team. That's why I said, or hit it over the wall and call it a night. I didn't say, and win the game. I said, and call it a night, however that may be. But it worked out. So that was probably, that's the most exciting game that I've ever been at with everything that was going on. Then I went to Game 7 also.
Do you go to Blues games?
I do a few, yeah. I at least one a year. She's a big Blues fan. Mm-hmm. She likes hockey.
I love hockey.
And I hang out with the Tallman a little bit sometimes. We see him at the game. Always.
Yeah, you were saying that before we start the podcast. So you guys meet each other, hang out, huh?
Yeah, well, I see him at events.
Ron, you said Ron?
Ron, yeah. Yeah. Ron and I go to charity events. We showed up in a different event. He finally kind of trumped what I was doing because of Stanley Cup. Now they finally have a Stanley Cup trophy. And I used to make my trophies all about this tall. I make these myself. People think, where'd you get that? I stole it from the Cubs trophy case. No, this is titanium and platinum are hard to get, but this is all wood and whatever. And now we're going to maybe make them out of titanium. The guy said, well, anyway, the old trophy, I'd make them all about so high. And then Ron shows up to the charity event. And he's got a picture, poster board of the Stanley Cup. But it's real size. It's regulation height and everything. But when in a picture, it looks like he's got the Stanley Cup because it was all 3D and everything. And so I saw that. And I'm like, oh, now I've got to make my trophy as tall as the actual trophy is.
How tall is the actual trophy?
I believe it's 24 inches total, or 20 inches total. I think it's 20.
Have you guys seen the replica one downtown at Ballpark Village?
The big new one they got outside? It's got a 4-inch base.
That's what distance I have.
It's right by the in front of the Sports Social.
Yeah, they've got a new replica. There's a lot of people that joke that I inspired the Cardinals to build that because they saw the reaction I got from. I've talked to some of the marketing people by chance. A guy was sitting behind me at a game a few years ago, and she goes, "Do you know how many ideas we get from all the stuff that you do?" But now they've got embossed STL on their helmets now that they didn't have before. It used to be just a sticker. They started doing the Cardinals striped socks. The rings, I started wearing rings before they gave them out. Because I had a replica one that I had.
A little baby version, like a little fake replica.
Yeah, they gave out a replica trophy. They did.
They do bobbleheads now.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun. I don't know how many of those they got from me, but she said, oh, yeah, we get a lot of ideas. We love when you run around.
That's pretty cool.
Well,
gives us a new idea.
You think they'd make you a bobblehead? I mean,
you need a bobblehead.
Yeah, Cardinal Cowboy bobblehead.
There is actually one available. I had
oh, really?
Friend of mine, she actually got one made for me. And so it's we got to get a picture of that out, but yeah, it's on the website. If you do a Google search, Cardinal Cowboy bobblehead, it'll pop up. Okay. But yeah, so I said, she started asking me, she says, well, what do you think about this? I'm like, well, that's cool. And I said, well, you got to get with the ring. So I've got my left hand on my hip and the right hand holding the trophy. And so the only thing we might have done beyond that would be put the number 1 up like this, but yeah, so there it is.
There it is, yeah.
Yeah, so if you click on the you might have to. You can show where people can actually buy that now.
Or like the last
on my website.
The last one here.
Any of those? Yeah, those are all.
Oh, right here. No, wait. I'm confused. Where?
Go back.
Over the left, Carter. I think they went all the way to the left. Isn't that you?
No, yeah, these all are in the second row. Yeah. There. But if you go click on the link, I think it'll take you to the page.
Your rings on.
Yeah. So you can see the rings on the.
Cool.
And so how's that load? Yeah, get bobblehead. Yeah, there they are. And I have not advertised this or promoted it, but somebody found it, and then they ordered one, and I hadn't made an order in a long time. So the original mold got tossed away. So now I got to change that because now they're all like the cost is $65, so I sell them for $75 just to cover my time or whatever. I'm losing money, but yeah, you can get one of those now. They look a little bit like me. I
think that picture
far left
right there looks really like you.
Yeah, I mean, people get confused whether it's Brad Pitt or if it's me.
Yeah, that's what I was telling you.
Actually, the middle one almost looks like Norm Macdonald. Yeah.
So yeah,
I can see it in the left one though.
Yeah, I can see it on that one too.
That's kind of they at least have blue eyes. I do look. Brad and I look very similar. Brad Pitt and I,
Brad Pitt.
Very similar.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Well, I mean, it's true. We both have 2 eyes. We both have a nose. Ears. So yeah, it's very similar.
That's awesome. So we're about to wrap up here in an hour. So just you can follow them on Facebook here. I'll put some of your pages here, and so.
Speaking of merchandise, I did bring a couple little things. Here's this. These are brand new. This one just came off the press, but this is the Cardinal Cowboy T-shirt. And these
I like
are
that
available
logo.
on the
Hey,
website.
that guy has your muscles too.
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah.
So make it look kind of like the Cardinal Cowboys. You're right. So they did put the muscles in there. That was obviously necessary, or else somebody may be like, that's not the Cardinal Cowboy. He has more muscles than that. But yeah, there's the front of it. And then on the back, it's got a shot from our show. This is that show I was talking to you to about the doctor and the director of the Brain Injury Association. And they talked about. So that's just one of the shots. I'm going to show these to the judge and see if he wants to go in on some of these shirts. But yeah, that's the blue one, gray, navy, whatever color. That's like and here's the original, a remake of the original, and the red version. So I wear this underneath every time when I wear my Cardinal Cowboy jersey. This is what's underneath, and on the back of it, 4 different. We made some promotional boards that I took to some venues, and then I just printed out one of those.
Chase your dreams. That's really cool.
Yeah, chase your dreams, and that one's got Kerry Robinson, Smash, my buddy Bert, and Isaac on there on the back for just 4 of our guests that were on the show. Cowboy Joe.
I remember Smash.
Yeah, he's still doing it. He's on a different station over in Illinois, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, he has a band. He plays on the river all the time.
Yeah, the Smash Band.
Smash Band. Yeah.
Yeah. Where's he play on the river at?
The Boathouse.
Did he play at the Boathouse? Okay.
He did. I see him at the Boathouse. So
Okay.
Or what's
I've seen him there
what's
too.
the newest station?
90. Yeah, and then there's 93.3. We've worked with a bunch of those guys. It's a new conservative local station that they talk
Or
about.
the Viper.
I'm on the Viper every once in a while. Fish, DJ Fish, if you know DJ Fish.
And the thing on the weekends too, if there's not a Cardinals game, you can catch you on the river because that's where I seen you.
That's true.
And I recognized them on what I guess we were at, what was this thing, a sand barge?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like from a distance because I saw the hat.
think you
I'm
were
like,
there
there's
too.
Cardinal Cowboy way down there.
Right.
Yeah.
People see the trophy and they're like, where did you get it? Because if you don't get really close to it, it looks. This guy goes, how did you get the World Series trophy on your boat? I'm like, hey, you got connections.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wear the rings and do our whole thing. But yeah, you'll catch me on the weekends. I try to get out on the river, go to the game on Friday night. This is the first Saturday night game. She and I went because I ended up getting tickets offered to me for free from a Cardinal friend, and I said sure. And I'm like, all right, now we got to leave. And we will just skip the boat on the river. So we didn't go on Saturday, this last Saturday, but we ended up the Cardinal game, and they gave away the bobblehead?
The 1985.
Oh, that's right, the new replica ring, which I should have brought, but they've got a 1985.
You got a mystery player. We ended up getting McGee and
Ozzie Smith.
Ozzie
McGee.
Smith.
Oh yeah.
That's right.
They had Coleman, and then who was the other one?
Coleman, Tudor, McGee,
Tudor.
Smith. Was it Hernandez? The other one might have been.
Yeah, there was one other one.
That was back in my day.
That was back when my favorite team
Yeah,
growing
me
up was
too.
that team. Yeah.
That's right.
Keith Hernandez.
80,
Well,
87
if it wasn't for the '80s Cardinals, I don't know if I'd have been such a big
Sutter,
right.
Yeah.
Being such a big fan.
McGee.
Yep. Bruce Sutter, yeah,
So
good stuff. Awesome.
So just Cardinal and Cowboy, I'm getting this all mixed up. Cowboy and Judge show. I knew how to get on the fifth turn. Check that out on ABC 30s in the daytime.
Yeah, 11 o'clock on Saturday, 6 o'clock on Sunday, or check the times. It shows up if you do your menu. It says Cardinal Cowboy Judge Show. But you got to show my if you do find my Cardinal Cowboy fan page, which now you have to find because, like I said, we had our little disagreement or misunderstanding.
Cowboy, or what'd you call him?
Yeah, there it is, Cowboy on the far left. You got it there already. And it's just called Cowboy now.
Oh, it's called Cowboy now.
Yeah, I had it popped up here. So,
but you can find me if you go to facebook.com/ROUR Cowboy. And yeah.
Okay.
And so now we're back up to 1,100 followers, probably most of the same ones we had. We're down 9,000.
There we are right there.
There's our live stream, yeah.
Let me go like that page.
And but we built it up pretty quickly. It was April, and now we're in August. But yeah, it's just the powers that be and their social medias. But check me out there. We're up to almost 1,200 people that follow it.
My computer's a little slow right now, but you got the YouTube page here. This computer's oversensitive.
Well, you've got a heck of a studio here. I would advocate anybody, if you get an invitation to be on the Daily Dirt with Dustin Diggs.
I'm excited that you came out because I was waiting till I got to that height. I was trying to do do a podcast with my friends first to get a little good at this with the studio, then get more people that are kind of St. Louis influencers like you. So thank you for being on. Yeah. So definitely check out the YouTube channel as well. Got a lot of great videos on there, great interviews with people around the St. Louis area. Cool. And so what's next for you though? Last question of the day. What's anything big coming up?
Yeah, we're pumping out our next set of interviews September 10th. That doesn't really matter to most people except for the people who are going to be on our show. We got a great list of guests going to be on. We had Jay Ashcroft on last show. A couple of the Glow girls, Rebecca and I want to say Julia, and they showed everybody how to all the things you need to do to be pretty. So I need some help there, but injections and all the cool stuff that you can get. But Glow STL. But next group we got a gal who's going to be on who is we're going to have pink shirt guy who came out and did his McCluskey, who did his waving his guns to defend his property. So I ran into him.
Really?
He's going to be on the show. Yeah, that'll be a great interview. I've run into him. I interviewed
him and his wife, right?
Him and his wife, yeah,
yes,
Patty.
Now I got a question. When you have people like that come on, their lawyers probably coming with them. Do they give you a list of questions you can ask them or not ask them? Or is it kind of?
Yeah, we haven't had that yet that I've seen. It's just pretty much open forum. We give them a preview so they can watch some of our past shows, and it's pretty much just have a discussion. I don't do a whole lot of research per se. We have a behind the scenes director who does a great job. Felicia does a great job doing some research. She'll give us a checklist, and I'll glance at that sometimes. But I'm pretty much, as we're going, I'm queuing myself for pertaining questions that are going to be of interest, and so we just never know what we're going to ask.
Right. Cool. That's going to be interesting.
I remember that.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting show. I'm definitely going to tune in for that. So.
And then we're going to have another zookeeper, and they've got all these exotic animals they're going to be on, too.
Oh, wow. You have animals that come on the show?
And they're going to be some... I'm one of the animals that comes on. But
which animal are you?
I don't know. I'm a...
We'll let her answer that
I'm
question.
a bear or a gorilla. I don't know. She's not going to say.
I fight her like a snake.
Watch out. But that'll be a good show, and they're gonna. This guy's hit some national acclaim, and he was going to be on before, but then he had to.
What's his name?
I had to look it up, but I know her name. But we'll let everybody.
Is it reptiles or what kind?
It's all kinds, I think, really. But he was filming a movie, so that's why he couldn't come on last time. But I think he's going to be on this time.
Does he do a lot
Actually,
of
I can
reptiles?
Yeah, he does. It's just about every type of. But maybe it is a specialty in reptiles. But let me.
Because I filmed something, and he had this big, huge, some sort of boa constrictor, and it was yellow.
Yeah, it's
I don't know if we'll
think
have
his
that on
name's
this show.
Mike
I'd
something.
be scared of snakes.
featuring Michael Francis.
Yes.
Yep, that's him.
Yeah.
And he's an actor too.
Oh, was he? Okay, so yeah,
he's acted in some things.
yeah. So there's Michael Francis will be on.
Oh,
Yes.
I think.
I think he's doing a show on Animal Planet.
Okay. Yeah, I believe
Yeah.
I believe that's what it was. But it's August 22nd, which is right now. Isn't it? Where are we at? He's doing some national stuff. So we run into people, and they'll come up to me and say, "Hey, we'd like to be on your show
I wonder if
sometime."
he's going to bring Goldie. That was the snake I did.
Was that the snake?
with.
Oh, okay,
Her
nice.
name was Goldie. Big yellow constrictor.
Yeah, that's cool. You'll have to tell me more about your acting career.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, my mom taught John Goodman. A lot of people know that.
Oh, yeah, John Kim.
Taught him drama in high school. Yeah.
Wow, that's
wow.
awesome.
Yeah,
Your mom was a drama teacher?
Yeah, she's still teaching drama. She still just teaches the drama class. She's semi-retired, but she just still. They got a beautiful theater. They named it after my mom, and it's 1,000 seats, elevated. And John Goodman flew in town to do that. It was kind of neat.
Wow, that is really cool.
Fortunate.
Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. It's great having you on the
Hey, it was
show.
fun.
Yeah, man. So definitely keep a lookout for Cardinal Cowboy. If you're at a Cardinals game, you'll probably be there. So
Good chance,
definitely check them out. So please subscribe to the Daily Dirt with Dustin Diggs on YouTube and like the Artists United Network on our Facebook page. And thank you so much for watching.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Go beast.